Hey everyone, so look, I would love to be able to do just awesome video editing for every single video, but that's just not going to be possible. Since I started doing video editing, like really good editing as far as I'm concerned, better than ever, I've only been able to really get maybe one or two videos out a week, and that's not enough for me because I buy a lot more comics than that, and I want to talk about them, because there's some really good books, and this is one of them. So I just want to get more videos out. So some of these videos, they're not going to be edited to perfection. It's just going to be me holding the comic and talking about it. And I hope that's okay, and I hope you stick around and still watch my videos, even though there's not just an awesome editing process, right? So this series is freaking awesome. It's by Boom Comics, and Kieron Gillen is just an awesome writer. He's been writing Die, and I'm not reading it, but Wes Over from Thinking Critical says that is his favorite series. Up until 7, he said he really didn't like it, but this series is freaking awesome. And it's not even a genre that I thought I would really get into, and I'll get to what genre it is here in a second. But of course, look, Dan Mora, he did some Power Rangers stuff that Spiderside really liked, and his art's just freaking phenomenal. I mean, if you look at this, dude, look at that art. It's so good. This guy's rocks, and Tamra Villain is doing the coloring, and she's great at coloring, specifically for this book. I think this whole creative team meshes really well together. They're doing an awesome job. So, spoilers from this point forward. Bottom line, I can't talk about this book without the spoilers, right? And so, kind of to talk about that, I want to pick up where we left off with the first issue. And it was really cool. We got to this point where, just to recap real quick. So, Duncan, he's kind of a klutz, first of all, and his grandma disappears. She runs away from her nursing home, and he goes to find her, and he finds her unveiling a whole cache of weapons, and he's like, "What the hell's going on here?" And she's basically like, "Oh, yeah, I'm a vampire hunter." And she pulls a gun on him, and she's like, "Get in the car, you're driving," And then there they go. And the very last part, she's talking about mythology. She's talking about King Arthur specifically. This is what's cool about the twist for this series. At the very end, she says, "Well, this is King Arthur. Well, King Arthur could return because it's Britain's darkest hour, sure. Or his return could cause it." Britain's darkest hour. To be continued. Awesome. Again, foreshadowing. You don't know what's going to happen, but of course, she points to that being a really bad thing. King Arthur returning, however that happens, right? So that's their quest, right? That's their mission they're on. So I've been talking a lot about writing in my videos recently. And here's the thing, and I talked about all these things. I said, give your main character a mission. We know what their mission's going to be. It's to go stop King Arthur from returning, right? There's a lot of other things here, but I also talked about giving your character special traits, right? And in most series that we're talking about, when it comes to like special traits, we always kind of look at what makes this character the perfect person for the job that they're doing here. And in this case, this being in the genre here, this is a horror comedy. Because, again, it's very funny. I laughed maybe 4 times throughout these 2 books. And that's pretty big for me, because I don't laugh at comic books. There aren't many funny comic books. This is good. But it's horror as well. And look, those 2 genres are the ones that really, they change something about your main character to where, generally speaking, if you're going to give your character traits that are the opposite, that make them the absolute worst person for the job, then it's going to be either a comedy or a horror. And this is both of those things. And I'm telling you, the main character of this book is absolutely the worst person for this job, to be a vampire hunter or to try to stop people from resurrecting an evil King Arthur. That is absolutely the way it is. And, he's just a klutz, We saw him throwing a bunch of wine on his date there in that first issue. And it's just really cute. He's he's the biggest klutz ever, and he doesn't really ever know what to say. He's very awkward. So the absolute worst person for this job. And it starts out, it's just really cute. He's talking to his grandma. Again, she just pulled a gun on him and forced him in the car. And she's like, time to drive. You're driving, He says, why didn't you warn me about any of this? I saw it, and I'm still not sure I believe it. When did you fit monster hunting around raising me, Gran? She said, oh, it's complicated, dear. It all ended before you were born, and really, what help would knowing be? It'd just be uneasy, the scary feeling knowing that every shadow could be crammed full of monsters. Yes, clearly worse than the uneasy, scary feeling of my Gran pointing a gun at me. She still has a gun aimed on him while he's driving the car to their, inevitable doom, maybe. And she said, oh, don't whine. I can tell you're fascinated. This gun is just our way of making you feel like it's all out of your control. And he says, this is out of my control. She says, oh, dear, you have a text message from a girl, Rose. How's it going with your Gran? Oh, that's sweet. Text her back, saying, great, she's fine, and has a gun pointed at my head. There's no need for sarcasm, Duncan McGuire. You were raised better than that. Again, this is great. Look, and like I said, I don't laugh at comics, but this is fantastic. It's made me laugh. It's a good series. Thank you, Kieron Gillen, for the writing. And hey, look, the whole creative team's great too. And this goes on, I'm telling you. So it has a bunch of people lined up, and this is all art. I mean, barely show, don't tell. And look, they are resurrecting King Arthur from the grave. Look at those vibrant colors. Of course, that's what Tamra Villain is absolutely popular for. Her bright, vibrant colors are absolutely just beautiful. It's like I said, it's a horror book, obviously, just by looking at it. And there's some disturbing imagery in here, which is freaking awesome, but it's a comedy too, okay? So, look, this is a huge recommend for me. Actually, I would have to say that anything by Kieron Gillen is probably a huge recommend for me. I absolutely am going to keep buying this book. She's like, oh, bugger, what do we do now? And they're watching him, he's speaking this weird language, they're watching him be resurrected, and they're like, what do we do? And they're like, well, what does he want? He's a king. You want to be his knights. You know how this goes. Get kneeling. So they're about to have this skeleton of King Arthur knight them, these people that resurrected him. Apparently they're, evil magicians or evil archaeologists that want to be magicians or whatever, right? They did some sort of seance or spell or some stupid Wicca stuff or whatever. But yeah, I'm telling you, so King Arthur takes his hand and his sword, and he just rips into it, and blood dripping down. And then this creepy King Arthur licks the blood, I'm telling you. So this is a good dark horror book. Look, very little lengthy exposition. And show don't tell is the way to write comic books. Again, this follows the perfect genre of horror and comedy put together. Again, I don't want to sound like a shill, but dude, this book is legit, and I don't say that all the time. I rip into some comic books that I've really hated in the past. That's neither here nor there. This one's worth it. It's worth your time. So after he licks that blood, he looks at him and he's like, Anglo-Saxon. And then he slices him in half. I mean, just rips him in two. Again, this is for mature audiences, you can tell. There's lots of cuss words in here too. And I mean, the imagery is dark. And he said, he's talking to his Duncan. He said, I don't understand. And she said, well, King Arthur fought a bunch of foreign invaders, it's true. But those invaders, they were Anglo-Saxons. He is very much for British, by the British, right? And that does not include them. So he slices through all of these, except for this one woman. I'm not going to tell you what happens. Again, a beautiful book, a good ending, an awesome story. If you like horrors, comedy books, These both, they're right up your alley. Another horror book that I'm going to be doing a review on it came out on a Wednesday. This is a great publishing company. I love Alterna. Really small publishing company, but look at these price points. $1.99. Some of their books are only 99 cents. And look, it's because they are newsprint. And some of it's black and white. Some of it's in color, of course. And they're indie books just like Boom, but a lot cheaper because, again, if you print on a newsprint, again, you can bring that price down. So I'm going to do, this is an anthology kind of, and it's just a bunch of short comic book stories, all horror. And so I'm going to actually do a review on my very favorite short story in here. And hopefully, turn some people onto this great publishing company as well. That's going to be one of my next videos. And again, I'm just going to be holding the book because I want to be able to get as much content out as possible. So look, Once and Future, definitely worth your time. These are my favorite books, however, right now. House of X, Powers of X. If you are not reading Jonathan Hickman's X-Men books, it's time to pick them up because they're incredible. Last but not least, these variant covers are freaking amazing. I put it in the wrong order. They're adjoining, and one is House of X number 2 on the left, and then Powers of X number 2 on the right. And this is, all female superheroes. Freaking awesome, guys. Again, hey, my name is Chase. I talk about writing, I talk about comic books, and I hope you join me for all my videos coming up. Hit like and subscribe, and once again, you are the gateway into comics. Have a great day.